Very special welcome to you. Yes, indeed. If you're just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. And for those of you who have been here since morning, a very special thank you to you as well. It's time to get into hard facts, and today being Wednesday, it's the Midweek special with Dr. Majeed Dahiru. Good afternoon, sir.
So it's good to have you here today.
Yes, it's good to be here with you today. How have you been?
Thank you, I'm good. We're managing to survive.
Managing?
Of course.
Managing.
Have you joined them? I've not.
All right. Welcome to the show, all of you. And let's get straight into it. The big three with a bonus here or there, because so many issues to get into concerning what's happening in our nation. But be sure to join us on the conversation by going to our Facebook and YouTube pages to stream. It's Nigeria Info Abuja. Again, Nigeria Info Abuja on Facebook and YouTube to be a part of the conversation. Let's get the first story out there. This one coming from Northern leaders and also the likes of the Iowa Consultative Forum coming out to raise concerns over alleged marginalization of Northern Nigeria when it comes to federal budget allocations, infrastructure development, and the likes under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Even though apparently it turned out that there were some who were speaking against the president's policy direction, while some were speaking in favor of, but it was indeed differing opinions when it came to rating the president's performance. 2-day Citizens Engagement Forum organized by this Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation in Kaduna happened yesterday, Tuesday, and a number of Northern leaders were there. The chairman of the ACF Board of Trustees and the likes of them were there, but some of them claimed that the region has been sidelined in the critical policy decisions and project implementation, despite what they called the significant electoral support for the president in the 2023 general elections. Some speaking to issues raised. I think there was a particular concern around education and insecurity. And I think that at some point a suggestion was made that if they were to allocate, say, about 7.5 billion naira to those two areas, then the North will be better off. While you had the likes of Ubasani saying that the North cannot blame the president for the current state of things. These are issues that have persisted in the region over time. Why are they now saying it? It is as a result of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy direction. So it was an interesting back and forth, basically. But here it is. Some saying we went all the way out. We supported. I think there were claims about 60 to 70% contributions in terms of votes. And I know you've spoken a number of times about the system of patronage and how it just seems to be a thing that persists with politics. And so whatever they did because they were expecting, you're going to favor us to a large extent. But do you actually agree that there's been marginalization to the North? Looking at
administration?
Yes.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
At all.
The facts available speaks to the contrary. And I think, if anything, the president is actually beholden to the North, in my estimation. It's as though every of his decisions, particularly appointments and citing of projects, he does it with that consciousness or the fact that he needs to appease this region. Because when you talk about the North, for instance, I like to use the word the Hausa-speaking Muslim North. Because within the North, you have another tendency called the Middle Belt. So, but you're talking about the Hausaphone or Hausa-speaking Muslim North, it cuts across the three geopolitical zones in the North, from Northwest to Northeast to North Central. And this block seems to form the largest voting block in Nigeria. So every politician is wary of this particular zone and try to, as much as possible, be in their good books going to any election. So it's understandable because of the identity nature of our politics. People tend to vote along geographic and religious lines. So if these people, as we have seen over time, try to align their vote in a particular direction, it's better you try and be in their good book. So it's normal for the president to consciously want to cut the North, and he has done a very good job at that. I said it because we look at his appointments between the North and the South. it seems to me that, yes, while maybe people from the southwest, the Yoruba speaking part of the southwest, may have more numbers, but they are closely followed by the northwest. And, if you like, the northeast. I think the most marginalized people in this country today are the south and the southeast people, which for me is another miscalculation on the part of the president. So the people that should be complaining is actually the southeast and maybe the south. But for the north, he has not marginalized the north in any way I can say, because number one, the president, of course, his vice is from the north. Actually picked a Muslim like himself from the north, just to make sure that he gets a buy-in from that base. And truly, yes, he got more votes in the north than in the south. In fact, he defeated Atiku in the north. The number speaks to that. And so he had more votes from the north than even he got from the south, because Obi won the south. Fine, but he's done his best to hold that region together. Because if you compare both his administration and that of President Muhammadu Buhari, you will see a bit of a difference in terms of inclusivity along this corridor of the north and the southwest. I say this because it is these two regions, anyway, that came together to form the APC, essentially, just to bring Buhari to power against the Jonathan. If you recall, in 2015, the southeast and the south and part of the middle belt stuck to the PDP and Jonathan, while the southwest went along with the north to bring in President Muhammadu Buhari. So, even the Buhari addition to, when the northwest took the chunk of it, the next part of the country that got some reasonable amount of patronage was the southwest. That seems to be the case today. In the case of President Tinubu. But for me, he's even more inclusive along this corridor than his predecessor. I'll tell you why. If you look at the security services, for instance, while the IGP and the DSS and the Chief of Army Staff come from the south and specifically the southwest, under President Muhammadu Buhari, all of these positions came from the north, including the heads of all the interior security services. I'm talking about the civil defense, your immigration, your prison services, including the customs as well, all came from the north. Again, if you look at the position of the chief of staff, the NSA, the NSA was from the north, under Buhari throughout. But this time the NSA is from the north, even though the president is from the south. So if you look at some of this balancing, under Buhari, the NIA, the DSS, all came from the north. But under this government, the DSS from the south, NIA is from the north. So I think the president is really, really beholden. I know he said 68 of his appointees to go and engage with northern leaders on this matter. Now, beyond this, I think the constitution will be having as a country, it's not a long regional basis.
I mean, I was getting there because you, in your response, rating it to say, okay, you agree or disagree, you were speaking in terms of appointment. They came
patronage.
Up in, yes. I mean, but they were citing examples of amounts allocated. For instance, a 1.013 trillion allocated to roads in the current federal budget has only 24 billion, which is less than 1%, earmarked for projects in the northeast. That was an instance.
Northeast.
Yes, in the northeast.
How about the northwest?
Dalhatu also referenced the May 2025 press release from the Federal Ministry of Works, saying that the regional breakdown is telling. Southwest received 1.394 trillion, Southeast 204 billion, Northwest 105 billion, Northeast 30 billion. And it says, sadly, this is discriminatory and it is not hidden. It's now done openly without apology. The words from Bashir Dalhatu, leader of ACN.
If the figure he's not given is true, then there's cause for concern, truly, because it will seem as though the southwest, where the parent conference is having a chunk of budget allocation for Ministry of Works, right? For road infrastructure.
For Ministry of Works, yes. Southwest 1.394
and of course, when he was from the southeast, is also following closely behind.
Southeast 205 billion. Yes.
So it tells you the way Nigeria works, really.
Which is rather sad, because honestly,
it is very sad.
I was going to go to the bigger conversation, which is this what we're dealing with?
And this is the problem. Most of these projects, even in the southwest, will have no impact or meaning to people of the southwest.
How do you mean?
Because from what I know about projects by politicians, somebody will just go to his village, pick a road from a nearby public utility, maybe a market, and drag it down to the front of his compound, and put it into the federal budget and label it as Market Road under the Federal Ministry of Works. And government executes it. In essence, what I'm saying is, this system has not worked for anybody. When Buhari was there, we saw something like this from towards the north. And when the man passed on, we saw people jubilating in the north and making mockery of the dead. Something I never thought was possible in my life. It tells you that sectionalism pays nobody. It will never pay the Yoruba people of Southwest, neither will it pay anybody. And each time you continue to do this, you continue to marginalize other people, and it brews discontent, disharmony, and disunity in the country. And, you know, in as much as I said, for example, that I do not agree as marginalizing the North in terms of appointments.
In terms of appointments, yes.
But the entire country is marginalized in terms of absence of quality and good governance. And that should be the larger picture. I say this because you can't have a separate agenda, development agenda for the North from the South. What you should have is a pan-Nigerian, an integrated national development plan for Nigeria that links Nigeria to a common global race for resources. So, for instance, it will make a lot of sense to make sure you construct a rail line from Aba, for instance, to Kaduna, from Kaduna to Zamfara, through Katsina and other corridors. You know why? Industry in Nigeria. Why? Because it was close to the cotton field and 102. We had to process to house. We ship them back through that same rail line to Aba. That will be finished into all forms of garment and finished garment wares for export through the port of Port Harcourt. Now, if you're able to make this kind of investment, right, it will benefit the Hausa man, the Igbo man, the Efik man, the Bibi man, anybody who's simply involved in this enterprise across this corridor. And with this circular flow of income from planting to harvesting to processing to finished products and export, it will attract foreign exchange from the global market. That's what I mean by linking the Nigerian economy to the global space. Yeah. So if, for instance, you're able to churn out 1 million products, finished products, from this value chain through the port of Port Harcourt into the international, or even if it's West African market alone, the money that the revenue will bring in will keep jobs and income growing along this corridor and expanding. So rather than concentrating 1 trillion in the Southwest that benefits nobody even in the Southwest, these are the kind of things we should be doing across the board. Because until you do this, no part of Nigeria will really develop.
So, which brings me to this point, and I'll just take it and then we'll go on a quick break. What would that then mean for conversations around NDDC, Niger Delta Development Corporation, Northeast Development, all the different development corporations that have come about?
One thing that by now you and I should have realized is that if you think that you can create an intervention agency and then people it by people from the region strictly, thinking that because of they originating from that region will make the projects work. NDDC in its first 12 years in existence didn't commission one project.
Let's take a quick break this. I will come back to this.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
The hub for
Connection established.
be a bigger question. We've been on this path for 65 years by October this year. By now, it should have dawned on everybody, both Northerners, both Southerners, that what we need is a Nigeria that works for all. If you recall, ACF wasn't this vocal about on the development of the South when Buhari was in power or something like that. They didn't raise their voice to call out that opposition for his own level of sectionalism. And so the tables have turned and they are speaking now. So it tells you that you'd have to wait until it gets your turn to speak out as a Nigerian. Speak out at all times for all other Nigerians whenever you notice any form of marginalization or discrimination, so that when you're also affected, others can speak for you. We need to begin to think Nigeria at this point. And I've always insisted that you cannot develop Nigeria in clusters. It has not happened in any country before. It does not happen. Forget about anything anybody wants to tell you. It only benefits a few privileged elites and political associates of the powers that be. So if created development agencies across the country, right, in the next 10 years, if nothing changes about the way Nigeria operates, you begin to wonder what has been the impact of these agencies beyond providing jobs for few friends and family members of those in power. And I am saying, well, you have an integrated for few friends and family members of those in power. And I am saying, well, you have an integrated, you are going to make simultaneous progress. Now, part of a pyramid. So if you feel the pyramid might, therefore you cannot afford to fail. There should be that consciousness. So back to the issue under discourse. We'll keep making these lamentations because the North must begin to think outside of the North, in the same way that the South will begin to think outside of the South. In any case, let me ask a question. They're talking about roads in the North and roads in the South. Now, the question I want to ask is, in today's Nigeria, who exactly is a Northerner or a Southerner, and who exactly isn't? When you construct a road from Kano to Maiduguri, is it only people that identify as Northern? I don't know who the Northern really is, because by our constitution, anybody who is born in Kano and lives in Kano and pays taxes in Kano, whose name is Chukudi or Oluwasegun, is a Northerner. Anybody who lives in the South, like Dangote, for instance, as far as I'm concerned, Dangote is far, far more a location than he is a Kano man. So we also need to begin to understand that who are you really speaking for? That's why at the end of the day, it boils down to patronage. Those who have appropriated this region politically. So we talk about the North today. That Igbo man who lives in Kano, in Sabongeri, who runs all his businesses there, has no other home to go to, is not counted among the Northerners we're talking about. Whereas the things that you are canvassing for affect him as well. If we talk about the South today, it's the same thing. That is not counted as a Southerner. That's why the single largest investment in Africa, Lagos, not in Kano. Who lives in Lagos? Who pays the highest taxes to Lagos State government? Not Kano State government. I can't remember any factory or business that Dangote runs in Kano. I mean, he may have, but I can't remember easily. I only know of Obajana Cement factory in Kogi and the last one. So if you're a Dangote is not supposed to be on the table, because Lagos affairs or Southwest affairs. Are you going to say, for example, the man who built some of the largest estates in Abuja here, from Anambra State, and FCT falls under Northern Nigeria? Are you saying you are discussing Northern Nigeria? It shouldn't be on the table as a Northerner. What kind of a country are we really running? But this journey is fearful. Now, come on to what the reality. You see, that's what the president must realize. Nigeria will not, if not answer, will not tolerate the level of sectionalism witnessed under the Buhari administration, which was an aberration in the history of the Fourth Republic. I say this because, whereas Buhari's sectionalism was regional in nature, you could accuse him of favoring Northern Nigeria. Like I pointed out earlier, the Hausa-speaking Muslim North cuts across 3 geopolitical zones. 3. You can find Hausa-speaking people that are Muslims in North Central, in Northeast, and Northwest. So he picks an IGP, for instance, from the North, but from Northeast. He picks another one from the North, but from North Central. Right? He picks his NSA from the North, but actually Northeast. Army Chief of Staff, Buratai, okay, Northeast. Boris from Northwest. Boris picks a Chief of Staff, the first one was from Borno, Northeast. When he died, he picked from North Central. But a situation where the president's own secularism seems to be ethnic in nature. Yoruba and Southwest. Not Southern Nigeria. The question is, what strategy is he now deploying to carry along every section of the country that going into the next election, this talk about Southern presidency, when we begin to make meaning to some people. As we speak today, the president is facing opposition in the north. The hub of the opposition to the president is in northern Nigeria. The ADC, that is the new coalition party and the signpost for opposition in Nigeria today, is dominated by his former friend stone foes from the north. Right? And his economic policies generally and all that have contributed to some of the problems he's facing across the country and specifically in the north. Importantly, just the same way NSAS protests happened in the south, the end hunger protests took place in the north under his administration. And these people that are doing opposition to him now are likely going to weaponize that dissent, that dissatisfaction in the north to mobilize groundswell of opposition against him. Now, you would have expected that a president like Tinubu, who is reputed to be a strategic thinker and all that, should have been working on southern unity across the south. It's okay if push comes to shove at least, and the election goes into a north versus south dichotomy thing, the south will rally down one of their own to show that they can ward off the direction from the north. Because I've always insisted that if, for instance, Tinubu is not doing well as a president from the south, a southerner should be supported to replace him. That's my principled stand. But I think the biggest enemy now to this principled stand of mine is no longer even the northerners. So it is President Tinubu and some of his supporters from the southwest. At the time you are sending people to go and explain your administration in the north, 68 of them led by the NSA, to go and explain. See, that tells you there is a problem there. I mean, if there's no problem, you won't send 68 to go and explain. That's at the time you are now renaming street in Lagos from Igbo names to Yoruba names. That's at the time that we are having a tribal war in the south between Yorubas and Igbos. At a critical time like this. I have spoken to a lot of people in government that are my friends to say, if I go back to the north in 2027, you have nobody else to blame but yourselves.
Well, if some of the messages that we're seeing that came out of this forum that held yesterday are anything to go by, you have the governor of Gombe State and chairman of the Northern States Governors Forum, Inuwa Yahaya, on his part, saying that the North will back Tinubu in 2027.
Inuwa Yahaya lost his polling unit to Atiku in the last election. At the time that Tinubu was still a bride, a virgin bride. Is it now that he has given birth to 2 children, or by 2027 he has given birth to 4 children, that Inuwa Yahaya will carry Northern vote and give to him? No, if you are facing the kind of problem with the north, and you're also facing problems in the south, I don't understand how you intend to do it. My concern, my worry here is not because it's not because I am Tinubu's special advisor on political affairs. It will pain me so much to see the south self-sabotage to the extent where power will leave the south to the north. Because you know why? If power goes to the north in 2027, it will never return to the south again forever. It will take a miracle.
Forever.
It will take a miracle. And I don't know how miracles still happen in this time and age, because our Lord Jesus Christ transited since 2,000 years ago. So I don't know that anybody still performed that kind of miracle that he performed. It will take forever to achieve it. And I do not know what kind of a country will now become. One that is dominated by one section. But that will be the fault of the south this time around, not the north. Again, let me reiterate this. If you're having a problem on the scale as you're having in the north now, that will necessitate you to send 68 plus aides to go and explain yourself. And a particular leader said they went to ask the north what to do to address their concerns. It tells you it's a serious matter. It tells you it's a serious matter. And I'm talking about a region that has been socialized over time to see themselves as masters of power. Yes. Meaning, even if you do all your best, even if you are the best president in the world, you will still have that attempt to want to put one on their own there. And not talk of now that it is like this. What would have ordinarily saved the day was a southern unity, a southern solidarity. And I'm saying that southern solidarity today is in jeopardy because a group of chairmen in Lagos are renaming streets in a very hostile manner against one of the major ethnic groups in the south that ordinarily was willing to show some level of faith. I hear a lot of Southeasterners and even Obi supporters saying, if Obi does not get tickets on ADC platform, let Tinubu continue. It tells you to them too, they're going to say that Southerners should continue Even if their own preferred candidate does not get ticket on a larger platform, then Tinubu can as well continue. Meaning passive support. I don't have a dog in the fight. Now, unfortunately, nobody was reading these tea leaves properly on this side. We have gone on this rampage. You are watching as some people that claim to be your supporters on social media, some of the influencers that claim to be your supporters, are daily ridiculing this part of the country and a man that idolized so much. Look, in 2011, when Jonathan was contesting the election against Buhari, because President Jonathan knew that Buhari was revered in the north. He knew. There was a standing order, don't criticize Buhari directly in this campaign. Just promote my candidacy. When Michael Mary issued a statement, who were part of the campaign then, to describe Buhari as a corrupt person and all that, Jonathan suspended him from the campaign. No? And they issued a standing order. I said, you can say it about this man, don't attack his personality. You know why? So that even some of the people that may adore him, who may say the same with me, to say, okay, let this young man from Nigeria to have his way. If you attack him and insult him, such people will decide to say, okay, instead of you to have your way, we would rather support this man to the end. That was the logic behind that. It was also the same logic that in 1979 and 1983, Shagari showed Awolowo extreme respect. I repeat, extreme. At every state function, Awolowo was invited. Awolowo was treated like a co-president. In fact, Shagari gave Awolowo the same national honor as himself, GCFR. Because you know that this man was venerated by his own people. So, I may be his rival and opponent, but I must show that the people that they are inspired and supporting me will have breathing space. What am I saying? When you allow people that claim to be supporting you as a president to continuously denigrate an ethnic group and its political leadership, and somebody adores so much, at the time that the North, you are facing revolt from the North, how exactly do you intend to hold on to this power? My question, in the final analysis, now they are facing kind of opposition in the North. If the Southeast and the South feel sufficiently marginalized enough, ignored enough, to now feel that they want to rekindle the old alliance between that part of the country, the old Eastern region, and the North, as was the case in 1960, 1979, and even in 1993. People forget, out of the 3 or 4 Southeast states in 1993, about 2 or 3 voted for Tofa, not Abiola. SDP was the state that voted for Abiola in the Southeast. That is, the North and the Southeast have always had this age-long alliance that was disrupted briefly by the first coup and the Civil War, and was restored in 1979, 9 years after the Civil War. What if people feel, okay, since we are being hounded in a state that was a former federal capital that all of us built together, we are being prevented from voting and all that. Okay, let us now flip to the North. If the Southeast and the South decide to go for the North and mass, how are you going to win that kind of election? In 1999, 2003, and 2007, Obasanjo managed Nigeria's diversity very well. While holding on to his alliances in the North, trying his best, he faced civil opposition from the North. Because before the North was used to, the Northern Allies anyway, we are used to power uninhibited. I mean, they ruled from 1983, from 1979, as a matter of fact, to 1999. North was in power. So they already used to, having it with so much ease. But OBJ came and organized governance and government business, introduced due process. So it was no longer automatic. That privilege was taken from people. You have to now fight for it like other people, compete for it. Now, while he was doing that, he faced opposition from the North. But while holding on to his Northern alliances and trying to still make sure he has some support there, OBJ was excellent in doing one thing. He held the entire South together. He held the South together. That's why he pulled enough votes from the South to counter what Buhari brought from the North in 2003. Can you say that of the president today? Can we honestly say that?
Well, that still remains to be seen. Perhaps there might be time for him to right some of these wrongs, if we were to put it that way. But let's make a slight shift and move on to our second story. Of course, by the time we take comments and contributions, we'll come back to that. The NNPC is big in the news today. First and foremost, the fact that Mr. Bayo Ojulari, the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC, actually ended up showing up before the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, but not to render accounts on the 210 trillion naira that has been unaccounted for, but to apologize again and to ask for a little more time. He says, I'm just over 100 days in the office as GCEO. I still need time to do further digging, given the perspectives I've heard now on the issues. And this is coming in the midst of huge national assignment, he says. And says this is not a job, it's a national assignment. I need to understand the issues myself so I can respond appropriately. In doing this, I will get a team. I will get the details properly reconciled. I will ensure that I engage the external auditors and other relevant groups. He went ahead and ahead, pleading and asking for time. I think he asked for 4 weeks, of which the Senate approved only 3 weeks. Well, I say only. They've had so much time already, and he's still asking for more time. While explaining the nitty-gritty of the queries to the NNPCL GCO, Mr. Wadada said that the 210 trillion naira unaccounted for was broadly in two components: 103 trillion liabilities and 107 trillion in assets, which he said must be accounted for. He said you can't keep making excuses. As far as the queries are concerned, we are not saying anything was stolen, but it needs to be accounted for. And here we have it again. You're asking for more time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and give you 3 weeks. While all this happening, while Mr. Odrelleri also came out to announce that they have ruled out the sale of Port Harcourt refinery, saying that it is they've made a significant shift in their position, and so by doing that they have ruled out the sale of the refinery, and NNPCL has reaffirmed its commitment to completing high-grade rehabilitation and retention of the plant. He said it was said that he described the sale of the Port Harcourt Refining Company as ill-advised and sub-commercial. I wonder why he didn't say that to all of them. But yeah, as far as the news is, as far as what we're hearing today, detailed technical and financial reviews were done of the Port Harcourt, Kaduna and Warri refineries, and they've come out to say that the Port Harcourt refinery would not go on sale. But let's take it from the beginning, sir. This conversation around 210 trillion naira, do you think is justified in asking for more time? After all, it's only been 100 days at the helm of affairs, and why is this taking so? It's looking like one of those things that will eventually be adjourned and pushed and 210 trillion naira will just go unexplained.
Okay, for me, the problem I see here is not about trying to hold the National Oil Company and its leadership accountable for funds not accounted for. That's not really the problem. It's another. But the National Assembly has a reputation, and a notorious one for that, of coming up with such charges or allegations. I'm sorry to say this, but just to secure their own share of whatever was truly missing or looted from those they believe have looted it. Yes. They need to work on that reputation. There's no probe that has been sustained in the history of the National Assembly before. Such kind of probe. I'm not excited really, but they throw these figures around. For me, if the National Assembly is having any credible evidence of unaccounted for monies by the NNPC on this large scale, they should channel that to the EFCC. Let the EFCC launch an investigation and come up with its report, and if possible, follow up with a prosecution of whoever was responsible for not making these monies accountable to the federal government.
But isn't that what the committee does? Don't they work in tandem with these financial?
These committees don't work that way. Again, they say they put me wrong this time around. These committees usually will set up. They will drill. They will do all of this gra. At the end of the day, you will hear nothing about the committee's report anymore, because what they want maybe have been met halfway. So if they are serious about this issue, it's a very serious matter. The National Assembly is not an auditing firm. It's not an anti-corruption agency. All they will do is NNPC can come there, cook up their own papers. If for instance if there's any fraud, how is the Senate going to actually decide or determine that a fraud has taken place? Only the FCC can do that. So send whatever it is you have to the EFCC and say, investigate this matter and bring everybody involved to justice. It's as simple as that. If they are serious. Until they do that, to me, they are not serious. That's on one hand. Now, whether it will take the man there now more than 3 weeks to be able to come up with a report, I don't know. 180 trillion is very huge. Is it
210 trillion?
It's a very huge amount of money. So if you want to work on that every day, even if it's 1 trillion, want to trace 1 trillion every day, it will take about 210 days. But, that's on the lighter note. But anyway, for me, the reason the man may have been run around this, it is possible that some of the accounts, some of the expenses, are not things that he can explain away. It is not a hidden thing that the NNPC sometimes serves as a cash cow for the political leadership of Nigeria. And so the National Assembly knows this. Their colleagues with everybody across the three arms of government, they know. So what they're simply trying to do is, if you have done this on this other side, you must do this on this other side. And the man knows.
I'm finding it hard to work with that.
We're not trying to be explicit because, in as much as I don't have any paper before me that indicates what I'm saying now, so I'm trying to play around with the words. So to those who Nigerians understand what I'm saying, I believe. So
I'm a Nigerian, sir, and I'm like, so the scariest thing to this is the fact that I expect that all these things that you're saying in terms of how the Senate committee works are things that, because of course they don't have auditors and all that, but they obtain reports. Where are these reports obtained from?
For example, if the Auditor General of the Federation raises a query on any government agency at all, that query should be referred. Okay, first you're supposed to respond to the query. First, because it could be just untidy bookkeeping. So let us assume that was the case. But if you do not respond in good time, as we are seeing that the NNPC is trying to tell us, give us more time, the next thing you do is to refer that immediately to the EFCC. EFCC has all what it takes to do forensic analysis of the matter, do all the investigation. They monitor the banks. They have the infrastructure to investigate economic and financial crimes. So if the National Assembly is serious, refer this matter to the EFCC. Now, you now be on EFCC to do the needful. So for instance, it would have been better for me to hear that the Senate Committee on Public Accounts is inviting the National EFCC to say, that thing will give you guys to go and do, how far? So EFCC now come and say, we didn't say anything wrong, everything is in order. Fine. So let them send it to the EFCC. You want to know what happened to our money? Say, I want to know. But send it to the EFCC. Already, the EFCC did something that I commend very well. For many years, we've heard that monies were spent on rehabilitating refineries and there were no results and nobody was held accountable. Recently, the EFCC, under the current leadership, have launched not just an investigation, but prosecution is already going on. Also, the dramatic persona in this allegation of huge money being spent and refineries not working yet. That's for the first time we are seeing that, and it's a very commendable one. So in line with that, just send them the dossier you have. I'm sure they will be only too happy to continue to wage this much needed war on corruption in the oil sector, beginning from the NNPC itself. So that's what you need to do. Give them the dossier. This idea that you are inviting the MD, that's what the group general manager, what is he really going to tell you? Why does it have to be about him? It's an institution. So send to another institution to investigate that institution and give us the result of what they have.
Well,
but I know, you see, we know our lawmakers.
You see, that knowing is the part that is the most worrisome and the scariest. Because just like I said, a lot of these probes, investigations have faded out over the years.
Let me now give you this secret that most people don't know. When I talk about the need to nationalize Nigeria, to Nigerianize Nigeria, this is one of the things I'm talking about. Do you know how lawmakers are elected into the National Assembly? Lawmakers from the political party to the constituencies and to the territorial district are not elected in reality to come and make laws for the good governance of Nigeria. No. This is the fundamental problem with our democracy. Lawmakers, more often than not, are elected based on primordial factors like clan, community, and in some cases, ethnogeographic and religious considerations. So, in most constituencies in Nigeria, they say, okay, it's the return of this other part of the constituency. What that means is that when your son gets to the National Assembly in these next 4 years, he should do all he can to favor this section with himself as the major beneficiary. So if we now have one political leader that we can reckon with in this community. So when it comes to Abuja, you make him chairman of a committee to investigate an NNPC, for instance. You think someone has to go for Nigerian money? No. He's coming there with the mindset to get whatever he can get from this probe with the prudence of his office and take it back home. That's why you see that our senators and our rep members prioritize constituency project more than any other thing. Because that is what matters. Where they're coming from, that is what is going to get them re-elected. Are you not surprised that Nigeria is the only country in the world that you know, any sane country, where lawmakers openly come out to admit that these 10 constituencies for my constituency, I got them jobs in FIRS, NNPC, this and that. Because I'm chairman of Senate committee on FIRS and NNPC. Have you not seen that kind of thing happen in Nigeria? Or the people in the military, in the police, in the paramilitary that are cause of my influence. This is ordinarily a crime that should land you in prison for interfering with the process of recruitment to government, which is supposed to be transparent, methodological, and merit-based. But you have now come to admit that it was due to your phone call that got them the job here. And they advertise it openly.
Because that's what even the people wanted from them.
Exactly.
Let's take a quick break, so we'll come back.
It's the battle of minds. A clash of brilliance.
This is Nigeria Info.